Hey everybody, this is a little fix that I've actually been asked about several times but never really knew the answer to it until now. I just thought I would throw it up here so you guys can see how simple this is to fix. The problem is that this shifter has gotten so loose that we can't even get the transmission into park or first gear. And if you can't get it into park or neutral, it won't start. So the problem was we'd be throwing it all the way up, thinking we're putting it in park like so with the shifter here, and it'd be in reverse. So we could still get the keys out and everything, but the vehicle would actually roll away if you did not have the emergency brake set, and it wouldn't start unless you dropped it down into neutral. The vehicle that I have is a 2001 Ford Excursion. It's got the diesel in it. Got 254,000 miles on the clock, but I've seen this problem in F-150s, F2, 3, 4, 550s, Expeditions, Excursions, yeah, the whole line of trucks. Pretty much all of them that have this shifting design. Here's what you've got. Grab my key. You can hear the little backup sensor going off out there. I'm actually in reverse right now. Let's put it out of there to get rid of that beeping. So what you have is you've got your shift lever here. That's connected to a shaft. They call it the shift shaft that runs alongside the steering column. It's underneath this trim cover here in this piece here. But you can get to it by dropping the whole steering column out. However, there's an easier way, a lot easier way. I know that's probably the ideal way to do it because there's some bushings that can wear out and get a little loose. However, before you go to all the trouble of doing that, try this first. It's a lot easier. Alright, as I was saying earlier, you got the shaft that travels down alongside the column. And if you look under here, a little difficult to see. Let me turn my low light mode on my camera. There we go. Okay. Here's your brake pedal, accelerator. Here is the steering shaft. Okay. There is the steering column. Above the steering shaft, these U-joints here, you'll see this bracket right up in here. Okay. Look closer towards the steering wheel and you'll see a size 30 Torx bolt. There should be two of them, and I'll explain this to you. Let me drop the shifter down a little bit. I'm going to shift this so you can see exactly how it works. The shift linkage cable going to the transmission is right here. It's this little cable right here. You can see it's a little tough to see with low light, but where I got my thumb, that's the cable. And that is connected to the end of this bracket up here. So I'm going to hold the brake down and I'm going to shift it. You can see it moving the cable there. As you can see, I'm not going into park, and I'm not hitting first either. I'm in second. There's drive, neutral, and reverse. Now, what's causing this? These bolts, these size 30 Torx bolts right here, they attach this bracket, which has a shift linkage cable connected to it, to the shift shaft coming from the shift lever up here is connected to the shaft, which travels down along the steering column. From there, these bolts, these two, well, it's supposed to be, you'll see it here, supposed to be two size 30 Torx bolts attach this bracket to the shaft. The problem why the shift lever is so loose on this truck is because one of those bolts is completely missing. You can see the opening there for the bolt. There's a bolt there, but there's no bolt right there. A little piece of insulation is just to keep the noise down a bit from the engine, but the bolt for the shaft was just resting on this piece right here, just like that. So fortunately we didn't lose it, and that's the bolt that eventually backed its way out of the bracket there, and that's why the shifting got so loose all of a sudden. It was fairly loose, but then all of a sudden it got so bad I couldn't get it into park or first gear. and that's when this bolt just finally worked its way completely out. And just for the record, the little insulation just fits right up there under the dash. There's several little plastic retainer screws you need to take out. They consist of these little guys here, and then these little plastic screws. You don't even have to screw them in with the screwdriver. When you go to put them back in, you can just push them back up in there. So that's what holds that piece in place. All right, best part about this job is all you need to do to fix it is put a little bit of thread lock on these bolts, get a size 30 Torx bit, and put them back in there, tighten them down. You can't get them too tight because you're basically threading these bolts into aluminum, and you don't want to strip them out because then you're really sunk. You're going to have to replace the whole shift shaft that goes along the column. And what I've got, just to make it a little bit easier, is a ratchet wrench with a 3/8 to 1/4 inch adapter. And then this is a little flexible, it's kind of cool, it's a little flexible extension here. I just stick that in the end there. Got my size 30 Torx bolt, and there you go. So let's do this. The way I got this to work, where's my little, here we go, flexible extension. All you need is a 1/4 inch socket, and these little tips will fit in there just perfectly. Now that's what I'm going to use here. Alright, so I got a little bit of thread lock on the bolts there. And this was a little tough to get started initially, but what you got to do is have one hand free and the other hand on the bolts, starting them by hand while you work the shifter back and forth. That way the bolts will line up and then you can just start threading them in. Always start them by hand so you don't cross thread them, because that can be a big problem if you do that. So I got these two started, and let me get my socket here, thread them in the rest of the way, tighten them down. Okay, I'm gonna try to tighten these bolts up now. Got my little flexible extension for my size 30 Torx bits and little star pattern bolts. Alright, that's about the tightest I can get it with this flexible extension. I'll probably tighten it up the rest of the way with the socket directly on the ratchet. And remember, you don't want to get them too tight because they're going into aluminum. Well, let's get the next one here. Okay, there we go. And see, that one was really loose too. Okay. My cell phone text tone. That's my brother. Okay. Okay. There's that one. All right, there we go, all tight. Okay, everything is tightened up. We should go right into park just fine. Look at that. All right. Perfect. That's all that's to it. Takes about 10-15 minutes tops. With a little piece of insulation back in. One thing to remember about this is, you see that little bolt right up in there? That actually does serve a purpose. Okay, not only does it hold the accelerator pedal in place, but there's a little hole on the piece of insulation here But you can see right there where it lines up with, and it just helps hold it in place. So that's what that's for. Make sure you get that lined up. Get the little plastic retainers. All right, so you got one here. Put the little plastic screw up in there. You don't even have to use a screwdriver, just push it in there, like so. Another one over here. And the last one back here in the corner. And that's all that's to it. You're done. Hope this helps you guys out.